Welcome. This is the Yes California CalExit Congress Committee night. Now, typically we have meetings on Sunday at 11, every Sunday at 11. You, as a member of the public, are invited to attend, where we have long-range discussions about how would California survive if America was no longer stable. Tuesday nights at 7, we have merged multiple different committees, committees by Robert Stark and Jason Wright and Christine Howard Eshmawi, into one super committee that we're calling the Proposed Resolutions Committee. Now, this can cover international issues, international outreach, professional ideas, really anything. And it's your chance, open to the public here, Tuesday at 7, to set the voice for 160,000 people, or 1/3 of California, and what should be our official stance on any issue you want. We have a great show today. We're looking at a couple different things. Joe Biden talking about the Armenian genocide. We're also going to be looking at Joe Biden's crackdown on civil rights and continuing tech censorship and how the federal government doesn't do its job protecting us Californians from that. But first, we're going to get into a joint statement about Baja and California. A few years ago, Yes California agreed to recognize the Baja Independence Movement, MIBC, also known as Movimiento de Independencia de Baja, and Movement for Baja Independence. That was one of our biggest partnerships. It really showed that we had an international outreach, and we were able to get a fair amount of media from that. Recently, Cuauhtémoc, that's Cuauhtémoc, is a member of MIBC. He produced a highly well done video. And he said, hey, if you work with me on a joint statement, I can make a good video for you. You just help make the statement, record the speech, send it to me, and I'll do a high quality video for everybody to watch. He released a statement. I have posted all 4 parts of that statement in private chat for everyone here. It's a little bit difficult for me to post the whole thing in comments, so let me just read it once. This is from Cuauhtémoc, from the Movement de Independencia de Baja. Yes, California recognizes that we have a common origin with the peninsula, the old California. We come from the same roots, and today we are ready to unify into a great nation that will bring welfare and good government to all families as never before. We are not 3 Californias, we are 1 California, Grand California. We are united by history. Our roots come from Hispanics and our native tribes. Yes, California salutes the inhabitants of the Baja California Peninsula, and we say yes to reunification. A new country where there will be no borders, where the old and new California will be as before, united as brothers, far from the political ambitions that separated us. Let's go for united California, La Gran California. We are 1 California. Our origin comes from the old California. Our destiny is California, the new republic we long to make a reality soon. Without borders between the peninsula and our state, which were divided by political decisions that will never be more important than the history that unites us. Today, we are determined to form the most prosperous region of the Pacific as a new country, La Gran California. Families of Baja California Peninsula, we have an important message for you. The independence movement has agreed to reunite the Californias into a single region to found a new country. We are determined to unify efforts to separate ourselves from governments that have only taken away our wealth. Let us be as we were before, a region with respect for our ancestral cultures, where there was no border wall, only 1 California, Grand California. Now, that is not a statement that came from Yes California. That is a statement that was proposed by the Movement for Baja Independence to Yes California, CalExit Congress, by one of our advisors. I just read the statement to you, and I will try to find the video to show you what the final product may look like. Now, before we get into that, this is a big statement. We have said that we recognize, as Yes California, that there is a Baja independence movement, and that we're supportive of their independence movement, and that they have many of the same reasons for wanting to leave Mexico as we do here. But that's where we stopped. We never said we're fully committed to a one unified California with everybody able to travel up and down as they want and no borders in a unified government. That's a big step. And I'll leave it there with no opinion and turn it over to discussion for the committee. What do y'all think?
I think I said this before the meeting. Is that I think this? I saw that you're basically to clarify, Marcus, the resolutions about unifying the two nations.
That's my impression. I just read it to you. Both of you have the full text in the private chat. So if you go to private chat, you can look at the full text. I just read the whole thing. Maybe that's the impression I get.
I think it should be discussed, but the thing is because they're right now legally part of two separate nations, I think it would complicate the legal process for CALEXIT, and but I think it should be discussed as an option, but not like endorsed, like not as set in stone. But it should be. I'd say if it's reworded, like should be as an option.
I literally just saw this an hour ago, so I like that it. I like publicity. I like working with other groups. I like reaffirming our partnerships, etc. And it's all of those things, and would be really cool. But straight up saying there's no border wall on California, that's going to be a huge issue. So we are definitely going to get backlash on that. It could easily come across as saying we don't want any borders, which we've never said. We have been very clear to say we believe in border walls. We just don't think the federal government manages it right, and we want to have
maybe word it. There's a difference between open borders completely or opening the border between California and Baja, so that should be clarified. Because I think the way it's worded now just sounds like it's complete open borders, so it's important to clarify that.
Yeah, I would agree that the current wording does leave it a bit open to the reader's interpretation. If you know they're not talking about, certain extreme measure, then you know. But if you don't already know, then it might be understandable to see how someone might, say, oh, gee, are they saying no borders at all? Because don't they realize that any nation, to be a nation, has to actually clearly define and maintain its borders?
Yeah, I'm showing a little bit of the video that Cuauhtemoc put together for Gabriel Boldekov. And I know we're talking about the difficulties with the speech, but this is just for anybody watching the video. You can see Cuauhtemoc helped put this together, and he said that he would help us put together a video. That's just where the speech came from. By the way, that is Louis Marinelli and Mark Gilbert, who died fighting for this, and yes, California. In Una California Independiente. So we were, this new video came out and we were specifically referenced Yes, California. And when they were talking about CalExit, let's go to comments here. Okay, can't print that. All right.
I'd just like to say that Bart Gilbert was the Leo McGarry of CalExit.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows West Wing will know.
Yeah.
And not only did they look similar, but yeah.
Yeah. He was a great man. Bart Gilbert was there at the very beginning. He taught us how to do he taught us how to file initiatives and what the initiative process was. And that's one of the biggest things that we got big with. we actually learned from him, and he's been doing the initiative since the 1970s. So he's an old hippie that taught us everything early on in 2015. And then things got big in 2017, and he was harassed by other members to the point that it caused him a heart attack. So a little bit of history there. Anyways, I miss you, Bart. I really miss you. You taught us a lot. We wouldn't be here without you. So you all saw an example of the work that Cuauhtémoc can do. And this conversation initially started by him saying, hey, we're already aligned as partner agencies. Maybe we can make a video. And then he wrote this script, which is, what's a good word to put this? There's some big policy ideas here that are going to have to be discussed.
So when you form...
I would say it's potent.
Yeah. So with these kind of alliances with different secession movements, like would the Congress hypothetically propose like their own immigration policies between that region that is also proposing independence where there's an alliance?
Again, all we ever said before in the past was we recognize that both of us are independence movements and that we have a right to secede, and that our reasons are largely the same. So Baja has a different culture than Mexico. Baja is seen as a faraway, distant region by Mexico. Baja spends more money to the Mexican government than it gets back, and it doesn't get a fair amount of resources back. It's a donor state, plus it's also the main economic engine for that region, which is pretty much mirrors a lot of the same thing here as California. Anything beyond that, we never said. So we said that we like the idea of Grand California. We said that we would like all Californians to come together, but we never said this must be for a CALEXIT. And Cuauhtémoc is, at least as I understand, having only looked at this for about half an hour, talking about, yes, California is saying that we want to merge the government of California with the government of Baja California, reunification. So that's one government. There would be no separate Baja or separate California. We would be literally tearing down the border and sharing California completely with the people of Baja. Originally, we never said that. What we said was they would pursue independence and we would pursue independence, and provided that both Baja and California legally achieved independence, that we would support our government officials discussing about how to work together, which may possibly include a merger. But that would be done on the behalf of the people of California and after both movements achieved independence. This is saying yes, California wants to merge Baja with California, period, and we don't want a border wall. That's bold and a departure from previous statements.
Yeah, so if I may, Marcus, I hear you loud and clear, and you are very correct. We have not said that sort of stance. We have not taken that stance before. Our stance has always been, as he stated, if we regain our national independence and if Baja reestablishes its own independence, then we would support our governments trying to work together and possibly even working to reunify all of California.
Yeah.
Nothing about no borders, nothing about, yeah. So I get where he would like to see it go. And so I'd like to kind of cut to the chase just so we don't spend like an hour talking about how we didn't say those things before. Just to, cut to it. It sounds like the immigration issues, one, that, California needs migrant workers in order to, successfully harvest all of the vast amount of stuff that we produce. which is why we had adopted the whole, sanctuary state policy, because, not allowing anyone at all is going to do nothing but bad for us. So we could have a resolution reminding that, California, we could include some numbers, right? California during, and we could use it for before immigration lockdowns and stuff, right? When California was running smooth-ish, what was our intake? What was the ebb and flow of immigration, and comparatively speaking to our agricultural output, right? It would show very clearly these people that you would keep from coming here, America, are actually beneficial. You are shooting us in the feet. You are cutting off our feet by saying we cannot have these people come up here. You show something like that, it shows the why, right? Obviously, logically, the only thing that we can do is continue to operate the way that we operate. Otherwise, we would just shrivel up and dry up and die. Wither up and die like a plant with no water. So we do that, and then because of that, we feel that, maybe a continued stance of California's government not upholding federal immigration policy or something, that we like that and we would like to see it continue or something like that. We could say something to the effect of, in an independent California, even if Baja California was not a part of California, we, being, folks who don't support, massive expenditures on border walls that aren't really necessary, we support a defined and maintained border, but we do not support massive border walls and border detention facilities, right? Making it very clear that while we understand a nation needs to have borders, there needs to be an outline. We don't want that outline to keep our brothers and sisters away from here. It's a way to say something to the general effect without saying it so bluntly as no borders.
Yeah, I think there's some way to say that we have a feeling of partnership and we would be open to this idea, but we're not saying it's guaranteed.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it should be open-ended. We should be open to the idea, but it should not be an officially, as saying officially part of CALEXIT, but listed as an alternative, but just focus on the ties between the two nations.
I like that. Jason?
Well, yeah, and as a movement, we only have, so much actual political power and room to maneuver. If we start saying the wrong things, we could be seen as technically trying to overstep legal boundaries and trying to operate as government entities without being such, right? Like if we were to start setting California's policy, right? I'm not an elected official, are you? We could get in huge trouble if we, step too far. Obviously, us saying we don't think there should be any borders wouldn't even be too far. It would be if we actually tried to, do something to, disintegrate that border.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. Some sort of general positive feeling without going too far. I mean, for me, we can't say there's not going to be a border. That is just a dead end for us. So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's going to go nowhere. We'll be eaten alive. It's one of the things that, and mostly I got us into this because I'm Latino. One of the things that we always thought was, are we Reconquista? This idea that it's a secret plot to return California back to Mexico. This used to be the big rumor thing that we had to fight. Now it's something else now, but it's an issue. We can't say no borders, or we're going to walk right back into that, and we'll walk into that trap, and there will be no way getting out because it'll be too big a pit.
Yeah. I think we could make a statement without it being too big of a thing. We could do a resolution without it being too big of a thing, and in it, resolution or statement, it's, all in the field of working with Baja California because they are also Californians, right? Baja California, it's in the name, folks, right? We could even use that as a slogan, when it starts coming up. Why Baja? It's in the name, folks. Baja California. Well, are you saying that California owns everything that has California in the name? What about the California restaurant that's over in St. Petersburg right now? Does California own that? No, obviously not. We're talking about nations, and where the name California came from is actually Baja. It's not from us. So it only makes sense, right? We got a very easily winnable argument. Whatever, if it's a statement or a resolution, it's all support. We're an independence movement, they're an independence movement. We're California, they're California. It only seems reasonable to us that Californians be, on good terms with one another and, work together. And maybe we could go as far as saying, we would like to see our elected California officials and government start to work more closely with that of Baja, right? Something that's a very clear, hey, you people in power, get doing this. And at the same time, while we're presenting hopeful propositions, hey, if you do get on this, maybe check around, ask around, and you might be surprised finding out how many people in Baja would actually like to be part of just, California. I mean, if Mexico doesn't want Baja and California does, I'm sure an amicable agreement can be made. Because, They seems like Mexico views them how the U.S. views us. You're good for providing to our wallet, but you ask too much. You need things here and there, and we don't like that.
Yeah, I think you can emphasize that, but most of what we have now, I think maybe 70% of it works. We just need to tweak the wording. So, like, where it says open borders or something similar to that, just change the wording, or just keep it. Maybe just keep it, but just change the wording to be more open ended.
That's where I'm at. Jason,
yeah, maybe we would encourage our current elected officials to look into the feasibility of potential freedom of movement between Baja and
Right. Sorry, that's it right there.
All right, well, write it down then.
I got it. Well, just Robert, it's a classic government move. I didn't say we're doing that. I said we're studying about doing that. They do this all the time to get off the hook. So you get a virtue signal, but you haven't committed to anything. Not until the study's done.
And with these politicians, if you ask them, hey, will you jump off of the dock and swim in this icy water with me? You'll be fine. Just, take the plunge. They're like, oh, I don't know. I think I'd rather sit here and sip on my scotch by the fireplace. You ask them, hey, if you can find the time, would you mind doing this slight little bit of virtue signaling that's going to make you look really good? Then they go, make me look good. Well, I do have that election coming up, don't I?
I think that's a brilliant solution. I think Robert is right in generally how we go. And I think, Jason, you identified the mechanism. That's teamwork. It's okay for you guys to laugh when I try to be funny, if you want. Robert, you're obligated to laugh at my jokes.
Okay.
Okay. So we're agreed. I'll kick it back to the heads. Do the heads approve? We will rework Cuauhtémoc's statement to make it a little bit more general and talk about how in the spirit, and we hope this is the way things would go, and we encourage a study, but we're not saying that we demand this as the future CALEXIT. Is that fair? Do the heads agree with that?
Yeah, I approve of that.
Okay. I will start drafting something tomorrow.
I would also suggest there is a little bit of repetition in the beginning. There are like 3 or 4 sentences back to back that are kind of the same.
Oh yeah, I see that. We Are One, Grand California is... Yeah, they do look very similar. It could be shortened.
I would just suggest cleaning it up ever so slightly on that end. But yeah, as Robert said, Marcus, most of the wording is actually very good. I mean, that's why I said it's very potent the way it is, right? It's not quite concentrated, but it is strong.
So you both generally, am I hearing this right? The 2 leaders of the resolution committee feel that overwhelmingly it's pretty good language. We just have a couple little thorns to work on.
I would say so.
Yeah. It actually makes me think that we should maybe reach out to him here and there, to Cuauhtémoc a little bit more, and maybe that's a way that Baja and CALEXIT can start working together, at least for now. Hey, MIBC, you have a project and you need some people who are good at troubleshooting things and figuring out like, oh, that might be a little bit too harsh, but it's a politician, so if you make it a little more about virtue signal and a little less risk for them, they might do it, right? We can help them on that end, and they could help us on this end. You know, it's one hand washes the other, both being successful. And as we work together and we do things like this, it's only going to come up naturally that, you know, well, yeah, you know, we wrote this statement in joint effort with our friends at MIBC, right? Or MIBC saying, you know, something equivalent, but in Spanish that is much, much, much better than mine.
I love a joint statement because we're trying to do joint things with the Texas nationalist movement. So this is another one. Joint statements are great, and building them up.
I think we should finalize the joint connections with the other secession independence movements, and then put them up on like an embassy type website.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing when TNM just came up. I was thinking the same thing. We need to get all of this stuff finalized, and you know, Marcus, it brings me back to that little idea I had about, you know, what if we made a road trip?
Yeah.
Right before Pork Fest, and we go and visit Molossia. We bring them some cookie dough for their treasury, right? Some California cookie dough. We swoop down and go see Adam, maybe pick up Adam and, you know, have him and his family in tow in a caravan or something and go out to Pork Fest.
Jason had an idea, Robert, about we could hit these other micronations.
Oh yeah, we should.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll work on the wording tonight, tomorrow. Sounds like we're generally agreeable. We just need to get some wording that's cool. Run it by Congress, get a stamp, and then we take it back over to Cuauhtémoc, and he'll make a great video. I mean, part of what got me going was it's a beautiful speech. I think that's why it's a little bit, you know, statements that are in each paragraph. He's trying to make it like a speech. And if he's willing to put together a video, I mean, another high production video. The other thing is that he has multiple news agencies in Baja, and I've seen where MIBC says something and it gets picked up by San Diego News. So I've seen San Diego News cover Baja independence statements. So it's highly likely that if we make a good video, we can get into San Diego News.
Yeah, and you know, let's not forget that this all came about because Senor Morgan earlier today provided us the link to the video that you showed there, where they're clearly referencing, yes, California, the CALEXIT movement, California independence, talking about what an independent California would mean for the world state. Like, oh my God, right? Like, dude, it's us, but we're not saying it, finally.
All in Spanish. Perfect Spanish.
Yeah,
video.
right?
The whole video is how
And
California
all in Spanish makes it so much more inclusive. That right there is going to be a lot of, I mean, I graduated high school here in the Bay Area at a school that's predominantly like first generation Latinx kids, right? Like, I mean, they're my age, so now they're not kids, but now we're all old. Haha. Uh, but there was a very, very large group in the ESL squad, right? And it's not a bad thing, right? It's just that it shows how many people are here out there in California that might not get the message if it's not in their native language. You know, and this is one of those things that I said back in the day of like, can we get some translator services to like translate out all of our stuff into like every major language? Like I've got plenty of Armenian connections that I can like kind of, you know, harangue someone into like, you know, translating something into proper Armenian for us. But you know, Spanish, Cyrillic Russian, as well as Ukrainian, right? Because they are two different. I mean, it's hard to tell with the untrained eye, but they are two very different written languages.
They view themselves as different people.
Yeah, right.
So that's
getting it in like Farsi, getting it in Arabic, getting it in Amharic for our friends in Ethiopia who are, by the way, things are not going so well over there right now.
We can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Just for the people watching the video, we have to keep, you know, segments.
Yeah. I'm just saying from an international outreach perspective. Also, you know, South Africa, the Cape folks. I mean, I understand there is a lot of English and French, probably a little Dutch, maybe a little German, or even some old school Afrikaans might still be spoken. I know a couple of folks who speak some Afrikaans, but you know, to get it all translated out, you know, so that the message can be very clearly understood, right? Because sometimes when you're talking to someone whose first language is not English, or maybe they don't have a...
I was thinking with the embassy site, maybe connect that to the embassy site. And then have like a section in each language. You're talking about transcribing the meetings?
Well, at least at least like every official statement and official resolution, anything that CALEXIT, Yes California, the CALEXIT Congress, anything that is official, us saying or doing something, I think it should be available in like 50 languages. Nice. Japanese, Chinese, Cantonese, and Mandarin, right? Like, Filipino, Tagalog, like, you name it. Shoot, I love Hawaiian so much, even Pidgin if we can do it. I mean, I'm not sure if it's possible to translate some of the, you know, legislative text into Pidgin, but if it's possible, hey, where there's a will, there's a way.
Okay. Well, if it's cool with the committee, could we move on to one of the next subjects, resolutions on Biden crackdown on civil rights or tech censorship, or the Armenian genocide half measure?
Just for quick clarity, you're going to take lead on kind of just a general smoothing out of what Kwahatema wrote. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's not very long. I'll give it a shot.
And if you want, I can like once you're satisfied with it, right? I can give it a pair of fresh eyes that hasn't really like in-depth done anything on it yet to let you know, just like, oh wow, this reads very easily, or oh geez, this is kind of word salad, right?
Yeah, perfect. Also, if you could do that thing where you make it all flowery. So I'll go through. I'll make sure it's something we can live with, and then I'll and shorter and not repetitive and striking, and then I'll hand it off to you for an independent set of eyes and to predify, make Shakespearean style, and then we feed that back to
okay, yeah, some of that like proper Oxford grammatical structure.
Yeah, just because this eventually has to be a speech on video that I think I would make, and then I'm going to send the video to him, and he's going to piece together a larger video. So
Okay.
we're just getting a speech together that we can all live with and sounds good, and that was just his draft.
That's right. Oh my goodness, I was forgetting this whole time. This is all just a piece for the video that he's going to put up.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
So it needs to be something we're comfortable with in the speech that we like giving. So I'll go over it, make sure it's something we can live with, turn it over to you. We'll make it all pretty. Then that's the thing that we would record, send to him, and then he would make a video that's dope and release it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then I will definitely make sure it is in presentation / speech format for your presentability. And then, Robert, would you like us to include you in on this, like before he actually records anything? Would you like to
that's
also?
fine.
Okay.
Awesome.
Just to change the wording to make it keeps most of it, but change it so it sounds more open ended.
Yeah. You'll see, both of you will see the text. I'll feed it back to you. I sent you an email now with the original version from Quatamak, and I'll retrofit it and have it to you tonight or tomorrow. We'll go from there. Promise.
Awesome.
All right. Let's move on. Who wants to go next? I got about 35 minutes left in me. It was just a rough day at work. Sorry. Do we want to talk about the Armenian genocide, or do we want to talk about a crackdown on civil rights and tech censorship?
Let's do the tech.
Since we haven't finalized
it's an ongoing. Yeah,
so
it's an ongoing one.
I've made like most of the points about this last time, but it's still ongoing, and we just kind of brainstorm about what to put in the text. But like the civil liberties crackdown, like last time, like the point to emphasize is that it does show that the current United States is broken, that it needs this kind of crackdown to maintain any kind of order.
Robert, if you want to draft something, I'll take a look at it.
I can draft something on that.
It's really easy for me to either draft something from scratch or take a draft from someone and kick it up to the next notch. It's hard to go from draft to finished product just because you're too familiar with the product. So if you want to draft something, send it to me for tech censorship, and I'll work it out with you, and then we'll finish and show it Sunday. If that's okay with you?
That's fine. I'll work on a resolution.
And what about the Biden crackdown on civil rights?
Yeah. Is that going to be a different one? Did we decide that?
Oh.
Okay, yeah, because there's so much that's falling into it, right? Do we want so tech censorship crackdown will be a resolution. do we want Biden's infringing on our rights to be a resolution as well, or do we want it to be a statement?
Well, both.
I say we file a resolution. That's typically what we're set up to do, is propose resolutions.
So resolution that Biden is infringing upon rights of Californians?
Well, yeah, they would be two separate ones. One is Biden cracking down on civil rights. Not cool. And then the other one is technology companies are censoring information and the federal government is not doing its job with anti-monopoly policing. So those are two separate concepts.
But, okay.
You could take which one.
So the reason I ask is because the tech censorship one does hit me very much as this should be something done in resolution format. But the Biden infringing on civil rights, though we could go either way with it, it kind of seems to me like a statement might be a little more effective because we could actually throw a little bit more into it. Whereas a resolution, it's, like if we're doing a resolution, we have to ask ourselves at the same time, what action can we potentially get out of this, right? What action can we see? What something can be done on this end? The President of the United States of America infringing on the civil rights of 40 million people, I don't think there really is much we could do other than say, hey, this ain't cool. Which means making a statement, with a statement, we can go all out. Hey, this isn't cool. This, that, the other thing, these 12 other examples, all of this, totally not cool, needs to end now. And because it's obviously not, we need to leave the union right now, right? But for a resolution, you can't really, it doesn't really flow like that, right?
I'm cool with that. Robert, are you cool with a statement on Biden cracking down on, and then a resolution on the federal government?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Can you clarify the difference between a statement and a resolution for the Congress?
Jason, I'm going to kick that over to you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that resolutions are statements of intent to act, right? Given A, B, and C, we, the entity, feel D through Z. That's a resolution. We see this problem, here it is, this is what it is, right? And here is how we see to solve it, right? That's a resolution. It's a group decision on how to tackle an issue. Whereas a statement, a group statement, organization's statement, is just a group of people saying something that they feel.
I'm cool with that. So
ultimately, statements have less substantial weight because they're not really aiming specifically for a target, trying to get a bullseye. They do, however, have the ability to pack the biggest gun at the range and put down the tripod mount with the 60 cal Browning machine gun, lay down some heavy cover fire.
My dog. Okay,
So, resolution is more of the Lapua 308, tactical sniper rifle. The statement is more of a, spray and pray.
Okay, so there will be a statement that Biden is cracking down on civil rights and a resolution that the federal government fails to protect us tech censorship. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Robert Stark, you are willing to draft the resolution, and I'll help you
Yeah,
finalize it.
we basically covered all the key points in that. We discussed it in previous meetings, but yeah, I'll go ahead and draft those resolutions.
Okay.
Statement.
Yeah, just draft the resolution. Federal government fails to protect tech censorship. If you want to draft a statement, that's up to you.
I'll just draft a resolution.
Okay, so we're definitely going to have a resolution. Federal government fails to protect California from tech censorship. There's also the question if we have a statement and what exactly that looks like. I guess, Robert, if you want to make a resolution on federal government fails to protect California from tech censorship, and you have time, you could also make a statement or resolution on Biden crackdown on civil rights, and we could convert that to a statement.
Okay. I'll just go ahead and do that.
Jason, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I was gonna say for the statement on the civil rights stuff, give examples both of California values and how California has done things that maybe are different from America, hey, we decided not to put so and so to death because California's kind of against the death penalty, even though so and so was a horrible monster and found guilty, and all proof says they were a horrible monster. We still, as Californians, we have these values enough so that we operate a certain way that's different, right? So you show the example of the California value, right? And you show at the same time how that California value is totally juxtaposed to the way the federal government is doing things policy-wise, or vice versa, right? You give an example of the federal government putting children into cages, and then you give an example of, and this just doesn't sit well with most Californians because California values, treating children with equality. There was actually one example just off the top of my head I can think of is the legislation to protect children stars, actors, and whatnot. So that it's no longer just their parents own them and control them and, kind of pimp them out to Hollywood. But now that the child actually does have rights, even though they are a child, stuff like that. At a point in time where, JonBenet Ramsey goes missing, there's a huge thing. The United States doesn't really do much about it, much like gun control. It's the 154th mass shooting of this year, and we're only 4 months in. Ooh, this is going to be a bad one. And is the American government going to do anything yet? Crickets. No, obviously not. But then California steps up and says, hey, we want certain things. So these are some ways to go about hammering the point home, right? A couple of possible examples. They don't have to be used. Just throwing some brain food out there.
Okay. I'll leave that to you, Robert, to craft the.
Yeah, I'll craft
statement.
the resolution. Are we
And,
closing the meeting?
No. We'll just move on to the third section.
That's on Armenia.
Yes, the third section.
Taking a stance praising Biden or criticizing his response as insufficient?
I'm going to turn it over to Jason. What do you think, brother?
Well, so I would like to start by saying that I have some personal feelings, just personally, and I am not the type that would ever say, no, I don't have those personal feelings if I do. So I'm making it known, making it public. I'm not trying to hide it. I love Armenian folk and Armenian culture. And Germans and Armenians actually go back like a really, 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 really long time. Saint Arminius was actually German. He was a German monk who went to Armenia and loved it so much, right? They called him the Armenian, even though he was German. So I have a lot of personal feeling about it. I try to put that aside and just look at policy stuff. And you know, when I look at just policy stuff, the main thorn in my eye when I'm looking at it is that 106 years ago, before the Holocaust in World War II, there was a genocide being perpetrated. And America was very, very clearly asked to please step in, intervene, at least say something so that people will know that you're not for it, so that maybe they will think twice. Maybe they might stop the atrocity before they've finished it, right? And, you know, Alex Galitsky, the ANCA Western Region representative, was in, I think that was KCRA 5 in LA or something like that, as well as the LA Times. He's been given a lot of interviews lately because he is the Armenian National Council of America Western Region representative. So obviously, you know, lots of interviews going on lately. He stated something to the effect, and was talking clearly about all of this, stated something to the effect of how, had America 106 years ago taken this easy step that really doesn't mean a whole lot, it's just words, right? But had they done this 106 years ago, Hitler would have actually known for a fact, guaranteed, that the world will not sit idly by and watch a genocide. Now, it should also be pointed out that Adolf Hitler actually referenced the Ottoman genocide of the Armenians, the Ottomans' conquest of the Caucasus, and used that as his case of precedent of why he could do what he did. Well, I can do this because those people over there just did this not too long ago, and America doesn't care. No one cares. No one's going to care when I go and do this to other people. And unfortunately, very, very disturbingly, he was kind of right about that for the most part. Only when personal interests are served, all of a sudden, politicians of the world start stepping up, usually. Once in a while, there are some who will take a stance for what is right because it's the right thing to do. Very few and far between. So I look at all this and I see Joe Biden 106 years late. I think about the millions and millions and millions and millions of people who have been more than likely horrifically, brutally murdered. And I just think, wow, words. It took all of this pressure, all of this work, took worldwide concentrated focus of like visual focus on the issue as well as focus of energy and effort to get the president of the United States to finally acknowledge that there was a genocide 106 years ago. This to me says quite clearly that if it takes 106 years to get two words to come out of a president's mouth, it's going to take thousands of years to get any sort of president of America to ever take any action that would help the people of Armenia. Let alone any nation, really, but very specifically Armenia.
May I ask permission to share a few web screenshots?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Okay. President Biden recognizes Armenian deaths as genocide. The president's use of the weighty word will prove largely symbolic, according to political experts. Here's another article. The largely symbolic move. Look in the article. Here we go. Presidential candidate. That's a largely symbolic. The president's decision to fulfill his campaign's now office will prove largely symbolic. It's not actually a resolution, and it doesn't actually do anything or carry the weight of law.
The difference between a resolution and a statement right there.
Yeah. And I also want to point out, as presidential candidate, Biden last year commemorated those killed in the throes of the Ottoman Empire, monitored and pledged to back efforts to recognize the deaths of genocide if elected. So he made this statement in order to keep his campaign pledge. Did anyone else ever make a campaign pledge to recognize genocide and then not do anything about it? Yes, they did. His name was Barack Obama. So this is the second Democratic candidate to say, I'm going to move on this. And then they just kind of did a little bit of a something. So Obama made a big deal about this. I remember I had many Armenian friends. They loved Obama. He was going to make it recognized. And they believed him for years until he screwed them all over. Now, has any other American president ever done this? Turns out Ronald Reagan actually did call the Armenian genocide a genocide, and nothing happened with Turkey. So, largely symbolic, doesn't actually mean anything. Obama backed out of his promise. Will Biden do the same thing? He made the promise on the campaign trail exactly like Obama did, and Ronald Reagan already did what Biden did, and it meant nothing. Just a couple facts.
Yeah, and I'd also like to point out for anyone who isn't in California, anyone who doesn't know, stop being mean to Obama. You first. Love you tons, Sam. Love you, brother.
Yeah, it was Sam. I was like, Sam, come in the show. And he's like, no, I'm just going to throw comments from YouTube. Okay.
Hey, I love it. It keeps us looking even more professional.
That's true.
So yeah, those who are not in California might not know. In in all of the world, Armenians outside of Armenia, one of the highest concentrations in the world is not just in America, it's actually very specifically in California. That's point number one. Point number two is that not every Armenian person is like wealthy or like, super wealthy. However, there are many, many fairly well off Armenian folk here in California. A lot of Armenians seem to have contributed to Biden's campaign and then continued to pressure him until he will finally say something. And this is the half measure, well, quarter measure, really, that he will give them. And so, for all of our Armenian brothers and sisters out there, I would like to point out that an independent nation of California would most likely be much more to your liking if you wish to actually see serious support for Armenia as well as recognition for Artsakh, because California actually already acknowledged Artsakh as an independent nation, whereas the United States has not, and most likely never will, because it would mean that they would, run into a little hiccup with like Puerto Rico, Hawaii, California, right? Varying other lands that they have annexed.
California recognized the Armenian genocide in the 1970s. And then when Schwarzenegger was governor, we did an additional resolution, and we've had an Armenian governor. We're decades ahead of wherever America is. And whenever I ask Armenians, I go, doesn't that mean something to you? We recognized this almost 40 years ago, and America's still screwing around with maybe they're going to say something or not. What does that tell you? We did it 40 years ago. They can't even do it in the year 2021. I mean, I know this is big that Biden said this, but so did Barack, so did Reagan. They've never, and they go, well, the Senate passed this resolution. You've never actually passed something through Congress. California,
well, yeah, and that's the thing, is it's not actually big. They're blowing it up to be like, Biden is all of a sudden the champion of the Armenian people. And very much not the case. Very much a quarter measure, not even a half measure. A half measure would have been better. Two words. And when you look at the statement, it reads very clearly that he's trying to appease both parties, right? Well, there's one side of the table that does not want to hear the word genocide. They will explode if they hear that G word. The other side of the table will explode if they do not specifically hear that word. Let me see how I can go about saying it while not saying it enough that this other side blows up at me. And when you look at his statement, it's very much that. It's not there was a genocide perpetrated by these people against those people during this time. This was an atrocity. There's no, it needs to be made right. There's nothing about recompense, right? We're still talking about reparations for slavery, in America. It's like, America is probably never going to get around to trying to decide on whether or not other people should pay reparations for things like genocide and slavery, and we can't even decide it about ourselves here.
Well, they can't even. Yeah. We can't even recognize the genocide of the indigenous, right? They still won't even recognize that George Washington specifically called for the entire wipeout of a particular tribe down to every child. So I forget, the Pataskwabat or something. There's one of the tribes in the area near the early founding fathers, and Washington, this is a quote, ordered them wiped out to the last child. Today we call that genocide. Americans still won't recognize
every last man, woman, and child.
He said that. There's an actual quote from him saying, I want that Indian tribe wiped out like to the last person, which means genocide. Washington did that. We also won't recognize that Abraham Lincoln paved the way for the genocide of the Plains Indigenous. We also won't recognize that President Grant committed a genocide against the Plains Indigenous. It was intentional to wipe them out so they wouldn't harass railroads, which the Transcontinental Railroad designed by Lincoln. Now, maybe Lincoln didn't plan on the genocide, but he knew he was creating a problem. So I'm going to put this railroad right through this uncontrolled territory. What do you think is going to happen next? Some white people get shot by indigenous. Oh, now I got to send the military in to wipe them out. Well, that didn't happen all during Lincoln's term, but the rest did during Grant. So Lincoln gets this pass as this great guy. He knew goddamn well what he was doing. Sorry. So we can't even recognize the genocides of Washington and Lincoln and Grant. We can't even recognize the genocide of the Philippines by the American military, which Barack Obama was confronted with and chose to say absolutely nothing about. So if we can't even recognize the genocides that Americans do, really? They're going to move on other countries?
Also, all over the United States of America, there are places bearing racist slurs in their names. Towns and cities with racist slurs as their name. Let that one sink in, folks. It's not like they just sprung up last night either. They've been there for a while. Things aren't changing. There's no prospect that things will be changing.
Yeah.
Sorry to be such a Debbie Downer there.
Hey, no, we're about facts.
Yeah, so, I'm originally from up in the Sierra Nevadas area, out kind of like by Lake Tahoe, this area known as Placer County, where the California gold rush all like spurred off, started. Massive slavery, subjugation, genocide, like massive amounts of it went on there. And, there's like this place called Squaw Valley, and like Squaw this and Squaw that, and Squaw Valley as a name, like very, very common, not just here in California, but like all over America. I think there's like, when I looked at it, there's like 160 places that bear the racist slur of squaw in their name. And my apologies for saying it over and over again. I do feel like it's as inappropriate as saying the N-word. I just also, there's no way to say these town names without saying it. That's the atrocious thing. And it's not going to change. I mean, maybe it could. I would love to be wrong about that. But it just really does not seem like it will change. It doesn't look hopeful. And this is, the epitome of America and Americanism. There are probably plenty of people who, know and love Squaw Valley and go there on vacation and go to the Squaw Valley Resort, and they love it and they have a great time. Probably all while not knowing what that word means. There's a serious lack of education, partly due to forcible censorship, right? You know, to the victor go the spoils, and the ability to write the history books. But also, partly, I think, because of a lack of interest. I think people kind of don't want to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm pointing all this out to just further state that if anyone is looking to America to be the champion of anyone or anything other than its own wallet and or oil reserves, then you're running the fool's folly, the fool's errand. It's just not going to happen. Now, if Armenia all of a sudden discovers, you know, vast amounts of oil under their land, maybe something could change overnight. But I really don't see it going that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I was having a talk with someone about how Trump excused the Saudi king from murdering a journalist, and he was a horrible monster for doing that. And then Biden did the exact same thing. And then Trump didn't call out.
Right. No, I'm not gonna acknowledge Mohammed's, murder of the, but yes, you ask me if Putin's a murderer, I will not hesitate. Oh yeah, I know he is, and I've seen into his eyes and told him face to face, he has no soul. Like, well, oh my God, dude.
Yeah, and that's what I asked the guy. So I go, okay, when Biden almost causes World War III with the nuclear power, what's the difference between that and when Trump did it? Trump popped off at North Korea, and people are like, they have nuclear weapons. You can't just pop off at this horrible dictatorship. You could get people killed. You're crazy. Biden does the same thing. We almost go to war. And then...
Yeah, well, and don't forget, it started with, hey, Rocket Man, and, then the people are like, dude, don't start World War III. Are you a freaking idiot?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's like, hey, Kim, buddy, aren't guys like us just totally misunderstood?
Calling someone Rocket Man versus a killer, huge difference. And the amount of backlash
and he turned around and got all buddy with the Kim, and the phrase is damned if you do, damned if you don't, and not in swearing wise, but like eternal damnation and hellfire, no matter what you do, right? He takes a stance against the Kim. He's a bad guy trying to start World War III. And now this is a rare moment for me. Everyone who knows me knows I vehemently despise Trumpelstiltskin. That being said, I am for the truth. And I have to acknowledge he, as acting president of the United States, took a hardline stance without going, like you said, he didn't call him a murderer, even though, like, let's face it, we all know things about, things over there. Like, gee, Biden, where's your jumping at calling the Kim a murderer? Off topic, though. Trump, as president, takes a hardline stance against the Kim, he does bad. He's trying to start World War III. So then he turns around and starts to befriend the Kim. Okay, rather than having all-out nuclear holocaust going down, how can we work this out in a way that doesn't see tons of people dying? And again, oh my God, you're chumming up to the Kim. You are nothing but bad. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, I gotta say, I like the peaceful attempt, the peaceful approach, a lot more than I like the, you know, hey, I've got my finger hovering over the button. Just give me a reason. Give me an excuse. Come on, do it. That approach, right? That's the psychopath's approach. The reasonable, sane person approach is, okay, we both have feelings about this, and clearly our feelings are juxtaposed to one another, so how can we work through this in a way that's not going to cause detriment? That's the sane move. And that's one of the few times where I actually have to admit that, hey, you know, he actually pulled the same reasonable move right there at that point in time. And, you know, here's Biden proving not to be sane, not to be reasonable, where it's like, you know, jump at the opportunity to call Vladimir Putin a murderer. Definitely will not say anything about the King of Saudi Arabia or the Crown Prince, really, you know, having a journalist murdered because he didn't like what the guy said.
Okay. So is there a call to action on this?
Well, that's what I would like to know. Yes, California, we have, as an organization, made an official statement on Armenian solidarity and our support for both the Armenian people and their culture and Artsakh's status as an independent nation. I'm wondering if maybe we should make some sort of a follow-up type statement, given that this quarter measure has come out and, you know, not everyone is realizing. I mean, I was telling you, I was talking with that Armenian friend of mine, and, you know, they were like, wait, what do you mean? This, you know, this is like great, isn't it? And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's ultimately nothing because of this, that, and the other. And we, you know, this whole conversation that we've been having. And they finally realized, oh, yeah, that is kind of, I mean, it's better than nothing. When you have nothing and you get a pebble is better than nothing. However, it's not really the diamond that you were hoping for.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if the CALEXIT Congress, and, you know, I'm of the frame of mind that if you two tonight, you know, Robert, fellow co-chair, and Marcus, you as president, right? If you both agree and feel that, you know, we should at least, or it warrants asking Congress if, you know, we should do a follow-up statement.
Sure.
If you guys would be okay, then so that's the approach then, is I guess on Sunday we'll need
a resolution first.
No, we'll need a little bit of time to go over. I mean, not as in depth as we just went with all of it, but, you know, go over enough of the information, the condensed version, so that the rest of Congress knows what's up, where we're coming from, what we're getting at, and why. And then we can ask Congress, so given this, update on situation with Armenia, would Congress approve another statement and or resolution? If Congress approves, which would Congress like to see? Because again, like a statement, we could go all out. Our statement of solidarity was, not to pat my own back too hard, but our statement of Armenian solidarity was quite phenomenal, if I do say so myself.
It was.
It was also made phenomenal by the fact that your delivery of it, sir, was super professional.
I love making those speeches. Yeah. Hey guys, no offense. I'm a little wiped out. It was a tough day at work for me today. So
should we wrap it up now?
Yeah, in the next couple minutes, if that's cool.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we're agreed that Sunday we'll just kind of present, hey, this is the situation, the update situation with Armenia, Armenians, yada, yada. And here's our thoughts on it. And see if Congress approves. And if they do, then we can reconvene on this next Tuesday. And we can put together either resolution or statement. We can put together the wording then.
Sounds great. We'll pick it up on Sunday.
All right. So to summarize this meeting, we discussed Joe Biden's civil liberties crackdown, and then the separate resolution on tech censorship, the resolution on the Armenian genocide, and Biden's response, and the initiative about Baja, about the borders between California and Baja.
Yeah,
So I'm officially ending this meeting. As Robert Clark, the co-chair of the Joint Domestic and International Affairs Committee.
All right, Robert, I'll get you the write-up tomorrow. I promise, brother.
Okay,
Jason,
great.
Thank you for everything, Jason.
Oh yeah, always a pleasure. And Robert, always a pleasure working with you too.
Thanks. You too.
Robert, always a pleasure, brother. And
Thanks.
Looking forward to your presentation Sunday. Okay, I'm gonna show the commercial, and that'll be the end.